Good morning, Vanchians. Another beautiful day has begun as we continue living life as Type 6 beings. Today, we continue the story of how humanity evolved from a civilization struggling with ordinary urban challenges into the masters of the omniverse. When people think about progress, they often imagine external obstacles, natural disasters, harsh environments, limited resources, insufficient knowledge, the dangers of making fatal mistakes as an evolving species. These are all genuine barriers. Yet throughout our journey we discovered something unexpected. The greatest obstacle was neither nature nor technology. It was ourselves, human beings. Despite possessing extraordinary intelligence, trust has always been difficult for us. Perhaps our imagination is both our greatest gift and our greatest burden. We do not merely think about ourselves. We think about what others think about us. Then we think about what they think we think about them. The result is an endless web of assumptions, insecurities, ambitions, fears, and misunderstandings. Greed, jealousy, competition, the desire to be number one, the tendency to pull others down when we cannot rise ourselves. These became some of the greatest obstacles on our path toward Type 6 civilization. 2. The delicate art of creating change. When I served as mayor of Vanchi in the year 2025, I quickly learned that building systems was not enough. Even the most well-designed system creates winners and losers in the short term. Whenever you try to uplift those at the bottom, those at the top often feel threatened. Not because they are actually losing everything, but because human beings are emotional creatures. For someone struggling to meet their basic needs, a small improvement can feel life-changing. For someone who possesses wealth, influence, and power, even a minor setback can feel like an existential threat. This is where foresight sometimes becomes counterproductive. People begin fearing possibilities that have not even happened yet. As a result, governance became a delicate balancing act. We had to protect people from exploitation while simultaneously preventing those in positions of power from feeling attacked. Our goal was never to defeat them. Our goal was to gradually redirect their influence toward constructive outcomes. To achieve this, we relied on one principle above all else: transparency. And the government had to lead by example. 3. Making every citizen a shareholder. To create trust, citizens needed visibility into how the government functioned. But transparency alone often creates entitlement. People begin demanding information without accepting responsibility for understanding it. So we approached the problem differently. We made every citizen an equal shareholder in the government. Citizens invested a small amount, roughly equivalent to what they might spend in a single day, to become stakeholders. The investment was symbolic. It was not about ownership. It was about responsibility. The objective was simple. Every citizen should understand how their government actually works. They should understand why departments exist, why public services cost money, why some services cannot be completely free, why taxes are collected, why certain policies are necessary. To support this effort, we created VBC Governance, a dedicated channel explaining government operations in simple and transparent language. Citizens were encouraged to participate through the Vote app, contributing directly to important decisions. As transparency became normal, governance became easier. Trust slowly replaced suspicion. 4. Transforming government into a value-creating system. The next step was financial reform. Rather than treating government departments as perpetual expenses, we transformed them into self-sustaining organizations. Each department operated similarly to a company. Every department had services, products, revenue streams, operational expenses, performance metrics. At the same time, we created specialized companies to implement innovative solutions developed through the city's idea generation initiatives. The objective was not profit for its own sake. The objective was sustainability. As department balance sheets improved, the dependence on taxation steadily declined. Eventually, taxes became less necessary because government services generated sufficient value to support themselves. 5. Redefining money. Money itself required cultural redefinition. In Vanchi, we wanted money to represent one thing: value added to society. The financial system was deliberately designed so that wealth could only be accumulated through constructive contribution. Whether you earned income through employment, entrepreneurship, education, research, volunteering, innovation, the underlying principle remained the same. You were rewarded because you improved society in some way. This structure also helped reduce corruption. Every unit of currency had a traceable origin and purpose. Transparency transformed finance from a source of distrust into a tool for accountability. 6. Treating problems instead of punishing people. As trust expanded, we began confronting a difficult question. How should society respond to harmful behavior? Historically, civilizations relied heavily on punishment. We chose a different path. We treated corruption. We treated greed. We treated jealousy. We treated destructive behaviors. We treated mental illness. Rather than focusing on harming individuals, we focused on understanding the causes behind harmful actions. Punishment may suppress symptoms temporarily. Understanding and treatment address the source. This philosophy remained central throughout our evolution. 7. The importance of cultural alignment. Trust alone was not enough. A civilization also requires shared direction. This led us to our next major initiative. Cultural alignment. Many people celebrate diversity of thought as an unquestionable strength. And diversity certainly has advantages. However, unchecked ideological conflict can create paralysis. A civilization cannot move efficiently when every group is pulling in a different direction. To address this challenge, we established the Culture Department. Its responsibility was to define, maintain, and evolve the culture of Vanchi, known as Vanchia. This included language, festivals, traditions, values, social practices, civic responsibilities. The goal was not uniformity. The goal was alignment. We borrowed wisdom from local traditions and from cultures that migrated into Vanchi, combining them with scientific thinking and technological awareness. Above all, we built our culture around one objective: the pursuit of Type 6 civilization. 8. A culture designed to evolve. One principle remained non-negotiable. Culture must remain fluid. Just as biological organisms evolve, civilizations must evolve too. Whenever changes became necessary, citizens deserved honest explanations. We told people what was changing, why it was changing, how it would affect them. We avoided manipulation. We avoided comforting lies. We avoided hidden agendas. Our citizens were treated as intelligent participants in civilization rather than passive observers. Over time, this transparency transformed adaptation into a cultural habit. Change stopped feeling threatening. It became expected. 9. Staying connected across the stars. As humanity expanded beyond Earth, maintaining cultural cohesion became increasingly difficult. Distances grew larger. Communication became slower. Communities became more isolated. To counteract this, we intentionally preserved common cultural elements. Most importantly, the Vanchi identity. No matter how far humanity traveled, people still identified themselves as part of Vanchi. This shared identity encouraged us to continuously improve communication and transportation technologies. Distance became a challenge we refused to accept. 10. The Conversation Predictor. One fascinating invention emerged during our Type 2 civilization era. The Conversation Predictor. At interplanetary distances, even light-speed communication introduced noticeable delays. Real-time conversations became impossible. To solve this, we created highly accurate cognitive models of individuals. When two people communicated, they initially interacted with predictive versions of one another. These models could anticipate responses with extraordinary accuracy. Meanwhile, actual messages traveled between the real individuals and continuously refined the simulation. The result felt almost instantaneous. Unless entirely new experiences were involved, the predictive model behaved almost identically to the real person. Communication delays became nearly invisible. 11. Expanding governance beyond Earth. As humanity colonized additional worlds, governance evolved alongside it. A central governing body operated from a massive orbital station. Every planet maintained regional governance structures connected to the larger network. Information flowed constantly between all settlements. Relevant or not, knowledge was shared freely. Collective intelligence became more important than local isolation. Meanwhile, the original Vanchi educational database evolved into a decentralized blockchain network distributed across thousands of information probes throughout the solar system. Knowledge became impossible to lose. 12. Choosing evolution over dependence. Despite rapid technological advancement, one of our long-term goals remains surprisingly simple. Reduce technological dependence. Technology is useful, but relying on technology for survival creates vulnerability. Instead, we focused on evolving humanity itself. Ideally, a person should not require external equipment to function in extreme environments. A traveler moving between planets should not need a spacesuit, a propulsion system, a navigation computer. The individual should become capable enough to perform these functions naturally. This philosophy gave birth to the Smart Human Protocol. 13. The Smart Human Protocol. By fully understanding the human genome, we gained the ability to upgrade biology with unprecedented precision. Evolution became intentional. Instead of waiting millions of years, biological improvements could be deployed almost instantly. The Smart Human Protocol emerged partly as a response to a growing threat. Artificial intelligence was advancing rapidly. There was concern that human capabilities might stagnate while machine intelligence accelerated. The solution was simple: upgrade humanity. We retained our human appearance. But beneath the surface, our capabilities expanded dramatically. We became something greater while remaining recognizably human. The existential threat of intellectual stagnation was successfully avoided. 14. The birth of Aether. Beyond biotechnology, another breakthrough transformed civilization. Quantum engineering. Using this discipline, we created a structure known as Aether. Aether was invisible, imperceptible, yet it spread across the solar system and beyond. It expanded continuously, drawing energy from the vast potential of empty space. As Aether expanded, so did our reach. Wherever Aether existed, our awareness could extend. This became the foundation of true large-scale omnipresence. 15. The Living Intelligence Network. Aether was not merely infrastructure. It was computation itself. An immense distributed supercomputer. A living information network. All educational databases were eventually migrated into Aether. Knowledge became embedded directly into reality. Citizens experienced Aether as a silent guardian. Always present. Always observing. Always ready to assist. The collective intelligence that eventually became the hive mind emerged from this network. 16. Knowledge without memorization. Imagine a civilization where learning no longer requires memorization. Where information does not need to be stored inside your brain. If knowledge exists somewhere, you can access it instantly. That was life within the Aether network. Schools transformed. Examinations became obsolete. The focus shifted away from memorization and toward wisdom, creativity, judgment, and responsibility. Knowing information became trivial. Knowing how to use information became essential. 17. Learning through experience. One remarkable feature of Aether was experiential knowledge transfer. People did not merely learn facts. They experienced consequences. For example, someone studying nuclear weapons would not simply understand their destructive capacity intellectually. They would experience, firsthand, the suffering caused by such destruction. Knowledge became inseparable from empathy. This dramatically reduced reckless behavior. 18. Instantaneous travel. Aether possessed another extraordinary property. It existed largely outside conventional time. Travel through Aether appeared instantaneous. Rather than physically moving from one location to another, probability calculations prepared reality in advance. The destination anticipated the traveler's arrival before the journey began. From the traveler's perspective, transportation felt like blinking. One moment you were here. The next moment you were somewhere else. Distance ceased to matter. 19. Population expansion and space settlement. As humanity spread through space, population growth became increasingly important. The limitations that once constrained civilization on Earth no longer applied. Through biological adaptation and environmental engineering, space became a safe environment for human life. Entire regions of the solar system transformed into thriving habitats. Only areas extremely close to the sun remained challenging. Yet even those limitations eventually disappeared as ether expanded further. Humanity's playground continued growing. 20. Natural problems and human problems. Before we conclude today, I want to leave you with one final idea. There are two categories of problems. Natural problems. These already exist within reality. Examples include gravity, disease, environmental hazards, resource limitations. For these problems, we must develop solutions. Human-made problems. These originate from our own decisions. Examples include poor policies, wasteful systems, corruption, preventable pollution. For these problems, finding solutions is often the wrong approach. Instead, we should eliminate the source. If plastic waste creates a garbage problem, perhaps the better solution is preventing unnecessary plastic waste from being created in the first place. This philosophy guided much of our progress. Prevent mistakes whenever possible. Solve only those problems that truly cannot be avoided. 21. Closing thoughts. The road from a small city in the early 21st century to a Type 6 civilization was not built through technology alone. It was built through trust, shared values, transparency, cultural alignment, biological evolution, and the wisdom to distinguish between problems we must solve and problems we should never create. Tomorrow, we will continue exploring the next chapter of that journey. Till then, good night.